Hi, I'm Jen Hernandez. I'm an artist based in Corvallis, Oregon, and I just made a whole bunch of these art kits for Lane Arts Council's Fiesta Cultural today. And I wanted to show you guys some of the things that are in this bag and give you some tips on what you can do with the art. And so we're going to start this board. Alright, so in this package we have got all sorts of really cool stuff. It was super fun to put together. It's taken over sort of my week getting this kit all put together. I've got, if you saw in my apartment, I've got a ton of bags behind me that I'm bringing down to Eugene today. Pretty excited about. And so inside this kit, we've got everything you need for art, including a paper plate that will be your paint palette, a delicately wrapped paper clay sculpture that I handmade. All of the pieces in this kit are handmade by me. And that one's a butterfly today. I've also included a little tiny sketchbook. I love these little things. If you know me, maybe you know about my obsession with sketchbooks, so everyone gets one of those. There's also a couple of coloring stickers that I designed. They're all printed on sticker paper, and they're also sealed to be waterproof, so you can color those with markers or colored pencils or even some of the paints and have yourself a cool sticker. And then we've also got, of course, paintbrush, some tempera paints, blue, red, yellow, black, and white, and a little bit of glitter glue. That might be pretty fun to work with. So let's make something cool with this stuff. Okay, so in addition to the general art supplies that are included with the kit, you'll also want to have a cup of water and a rag to clean up your paintbrush, and try not to confuse your cup of water with your large mug of coffee. So I'm just going to move that over there. This is usually how I like to set up my workspace. I like my water and my rag off to the right side because I'm right-handed, and then my paint palette next to it so I can sort of dip into the paint, dip into the water, clean up things like that. And then my piece that I'm painting on. So I actually think I'm going to keep my piece in the paper palette just to keep from making a mess. And I'm going to start off by priming my brush, just getting a little bit wet, maybe squeezing it out a bit, getting those bristles kind of ready to do some painting. Okay, so the colors that I've included in the kit are blue, red, yellow, black, and white, and then a little bit of glitter glue. Now the blue, red, yellow, those are the typical primary colors. They're not the only primary colors. I've been watching and learning about color theory a bit more lately, and got some cool ideas about that I'll probably use in some of my colored pencil classes. But for simplicity's sake, we're using these traditional primary colors because you can really make a lot of different colors out of them. And so we'll just kind of carefully open these up. They're really full. This is washable tempera paint, however it could still possibly stain clothes. So while you're using these, be really careful with not spilling, perhaps, if it's important to you. Or maybe, you know, wear clothes and use materials that it's okay if they get a little bit messy. Okay, so what I really like to do is I like to keep all of my colors inside of my paint cups really clean. I don't like to mix within the paint cups. I like to mix on the palette. So that's what we're going to do here. I thought what I would do is maybe create like a base layer of color on the butterfly that's a little bit darker, and then do some cool designs and stuff on there. So we're going to start off with maybe a little bit of blue, just gonna go right in with my brush, pick up some blue, and then add it to my palette. Just like that. And then before I do anything else, I'm gonna clean my brush off entirely. Make sure it's totally clean. There's no more blue paint on my brush before I go in and pick up another color. And this will keep all of the paints in my cups clean, and so I can mix all the colors that I want. So I really want to mix like a dark blue, maybe even a sparkly blue. I might add some of that glitter glue to this paint here. So I'm mixing right onto the palette, just like that. That's really dark. Let's see how this looks on the butterfly. Well, looks more black than blue. I might add a little bit more blue to that. I really love painting. This is my favorite art form, I think. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say what favorites are. I like a lot of different art things, but painting is particularly fun because it helps me just sort of focus on what I'm doing. Usually I can get kind of stressed out, you know, something like a big project like this, these art kits have been this week, can really take all my focus and make it difficult for me to pay attention to what's going on around me. But painting really helps ground me, helps bring me back to the moment. I'm going to cover this whole, just this top side of the butterfly. Just going to create a base layer of dark blue paint and then let it dry and work a little bit more on it. I think what I'd like to do is maybe mix up some purples and some greens. I want to stay within the blue family, and so I'm going to start off with blue again, and let's make this the purple right here. Just put it right onto my paint palette, just like before, just a little bit more. And cardinal rule, make sure to always wash your brush. And then I get a little bit of red. Start off with a little, can always add more. Mix it right into the blue. And I want this to be a violet, red and blue mixed together. Make a violet, but I want it to stay mostly blue, so I'm going to add a little bit of red at a time to make it more violet. It's pretty blue. I could use more red, so I'm going to add just a little bit more red. get it really well mixed. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And I like the way, you know, painted ladies and monarchs look, where they have sort of a dark border around bright colors. And so I'm just going to paint my butterfly just in the middle of the wings. I'm going to leave the edges really dark and sparkly. Of course, your butterfly or your horse or your fish or your sun, I think there's a cat in there somewhere, bear, you can paint that however you like. It's totally up to you. Great thing about these paints is, if, just like I'm doing here, if you do something and you feel like, not really feeling it, you want to change it around, you can let the paint dry and then paint directly on top of it. And so just like I had that blue there and those sparkles, I'm painting the purple right over the blue and the sparkles with this violet. And it's kind of like starting over without giving up. How can we push forward? What can we make from where we've already gone? I think it's a really nice exercise. Nice. Okay, the next color I want to mix up is a green. Get my brush really clean. Let's start with the blue again. Right through this blue, I can see it. I'm going to get a little bit of yellow to mix up some green. It's a pretty good green, actually. It's like a forest green. So as you're mixing colors, you can always make these little adjustments. That green was pretty good, but then I decided, you know, I think that I really want something more teal, so more blue. So just adding a little bit more blue to that changes the hue, brings it closer to these other two colors. And I really love, some of my favorite color combinations are teal and violet together. I just think those colors are really cool. So I'm just going to paint directly onto the purple with this teal. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I've got my dark layers. I've got the black blue, and then the glitter glue, and the dark violet, the dark teal. I've got this great dark base color. And what I would love to do next is add some contrast. And contrast is what really makes things pop in painting, when you have two colors that are really different from each other next to each other. And so in this case, black and white is a really good example because you've got, of course, really bright white next to really dark black, and it just sort of makes those colors pop. You can get contrast in lots of things. You know, contrast isn't just about color and about painting. It can also be about textures. It can be about sounds, things that are so different from each other that when they're next to each other, they really complement each other. That's what contrast is. So let's add some contrast and some interest to our butterfly. So I love these colors that I mixed up. I think I want to stay with them. To make them more contrasting, I'm just going to start adding a little bit of white with my clean brush to some of these colors so that they're the same colors, they're the same hue, but they're a different value. They're a little bit brighter. More pastel, actually. So there's a little bit of this teal lightened up, and then watch what happens when I add the teal to the butterfly. It just makes everything brighten. And I kind of like this brushy texture, so I'm going to go with it. A little bit messy, a little bit uneven. Oh yeah, that's nice. Butterflies are really fabulous objects to paint because they imply a lot of symmetry, you know, so when things are the same on either side, that's symmetry. And you can do a lot with that. You know, you can try to make them symmetrical, make both sides exactly the same, or you can kind of play around with what it looks like when they're not quite exactly the same, or they're actually really, really different. I'm almost getting like a peacock vibe from this. These colors here. I think I want to add a little bit of white to the violet that I mixed up. Since these are tempera paints, they're activated by water, so if your paints dry up on your paper plate, no worries. You can just get a little bit more water to get them loosened up again. You can keep using them. Alright, so down here, I'm just going to do some brushy strokes with this pastel violet. And while I'm brushing, I'm noticing like the brush isn't getting to all the pieces, all the crevices of the clay. It's kind of breaking apart a little bit, and I like that. I think that looks cool. Do the other side too. A little bit brushy. Ooh. So now that I've got these bright colors down, I feel like adding more darkness on top of them. So I'm just going to get a little bit more of this black and mix it in with the dried blue black that I mixed up earlier. Maybe, here's the thing that I want to try. I want to try mixing the glue, the glitter glue, with the paint. I don't know what's going to happen. I've never done that before. This is totally experimental. as I'm painting, I'm realizing like, ooh, it would be so neat if the edges were lighter and they got darker toward the middle. I think that would just look super cool. So that's what I'm going for now. I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of the teal and the violet that I had. I think if you've got the opportunity to explore, you know, to try something, not sure how it's going to turn out, but just keep going, see what happens, that's a really great opportunity. You know, so much of our everyday is planned really meticulously to get us from one place to another. So if there are just these little opportunities to experiment a little, see what happens, man, go for it. I really love that. That looks really cool. I'm gonna let that dry. Okay, so this is pretty dry. I think what I'd like to do is add a glaze of blue sparkle right on top of everything, because I kind of covered it up as I was adding more paint. So just going to get a good old glob of blue sparkles and go right over all the painting. And you can see, like, you can still see the paint through the blue sparkle. Just adds a little bit of shimmer to the top. I also think it might be kind of cool to just put, like, I don't know, something sort of striking. A little bit. Looks like a pour paint, kind of. Sort of put it right before the glue dries, you know, just adding a few white accents just to make it, I don't know, give it just something a little bit extra special. So this is on top of the wet glitter glue. Just these really, really delicately letting them kind of happen as they happen, you know, not really trying to make it look like anything really. That's that contrast that I was talking about. They don't have to be symmetrical, they don't have to be perfect. I think they look pretty cool if they're a little bit messy. Cool. I love it. Okay, so this is mostly dry. And I thought it might be cool to take the raffia from the kit and turn it into a little ornament. Hang it in my studio. Something like that. So thanks so much for doing this activity with me. I really like this. I honestly was not sure how I was going to paint this today, but I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. Probably put it up next to my other butterfly in my studio here. And yeah, tune in again for more art activities. Check the website, jenhernandezart.com, for more art kits and project ideas, and I'll see you next time.